Gordon Taylor has done so much for the modern professional footballer, but before we reflect on his work as Chief Executive of the PFA, it's worth remembering he was a player back in the day, playing for Bolton, Birmingham, Blackburn, Bury and Vancouver Whitecaps, and scoring a notable goal or two along the way, including this memorable one against Liverpool in 1972.
This is Taylor, could well have a crack, and what a crack!
Gordon was appointed chairman of the PFA in 1978 and chief executive in 1981. Back then, the organisation was nothing like as big or powerful then as it is now, and players had far less of a say and far less protection and security than their modern-day counterparts. In his early years at the PFA, Gordon pushed for the introduction of a new pension scheme for players and improved player welfare. Allied to this, he campaigned for grants to aid player retraining after their careers ended. Gordon was also instrumental in introducing the YTS scheme and the Football in the Community initiative. Initially, this was trialled at just 6 clubs in the Northwest. Now it's prominent at every club. At a time when hooliganism was rife in the dark days of the 1980s, this helped bring fans and clubs back together.
Anybody who knows our record will know that we don't want disruption. We've been responsible for a youth training scheme in the game that's brought in 600 lads a year every year. We've been responsible for community programmes at over 80 clubs, and that's been responsible for a decline in hooliganism. We want the game to prosper and thrive.
In the 1990s, the fight against racism led to the PFA funding and starting Kick It Out with the Commission for Racial Equality and supporting Show Racism the Red Card. Gordon was inducted into Show Racism the Red Card's Hall of Fame in 2004. Gordon was also involved in the development of FIFPro, which expanded from a handful of European countries and was instrumental as president of FIFPro during the Bosman case, in which professional players became free agents at the end of their contracts. However, he may well be most remembered for the stance he took in threatening strike action against the Premier League in both 1992 and 2001, resulting in the PFA claiming a more equitable share of TV money in order to help its members at all levels.
We don't want to take industrial action. We're an entertainment industry. The players are the major assets. We need to be proper passengers in the car, as I've said, and not, locked in the glove compartment in a patronising, arrogant attitude. That way the game's never going to develop.
Gordon always had the interests of all of his members at heart, especially those in the lower leagues, and always championed the grassroots part of the game. Awarded the OBE for services to football in 2008, he leaves flourishing PFA departments involved in education, coaching, community, diversity and the women's game. More recently, the PFA have been at the forefront of tackling the increasing issues surrounding mental health in the game. The organisation can also lay claim to having one of the biggest collections of football memorabilia in the world, going back to the start of the professional game in 1888. The PFA has evolved as football has evolved over the last 40 years. The game owes Gordon Taylor a large debt and wishes him well in whatever he does next.
And I'm delighted to welcome to present this award, legendary manager Sir Alex Ferguson.
It's my great pleasure to present Gordon this beautiful trophy for fantastic service, 40 years from the PFA. And I would like to thank him all the help he gave me in my time at United, and even back in my days at Scotland when Gordon first started there. So Gordon, here's a beautiful trophy for your service to the PFA. Well done, fantastic.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you. It's brilliant. I could not think of a finer accolade, better person to present me with this than Sir Alex. Finest manager ever to come out of these islands. It's been a long journey, roller coaster. I was 20 years as a player, a member of the union, became the delegate, moved to Birmingham on the management committee, became chairman after Derek Dugan, and then my predecessor, Cliff Lloyd, God bless him, asked me if I would consider taking over from him. I was thinking in terms of coaching and managing, but then I thought this will be a really good challenge. We had a small rented office, the Corn Exchange, Hanging Ditch, Manchester. Never thought I'd be here 4 decades later, but it's been a real privilege, a real honour to build up our staff from just less than a handful to over 60. Our reserves, paying out benefits for players over £1 billion, the rise of women's football, dealing with the formation of the Premier League after the difficult years of the 80s, dealing with mental health, our community programme that we developed so long ago and has really stood us in brilliant stead through this pandemic. We've helped the league, we've helped with protocols, we've helped with testing. We've continued to fight as a union would when they look to introduce a hard salary cap against squad sizes. So there's always been lots of things to keep me going. But all I can say is I just hope that we have truly evolved into the finest sporting union, if not trade union, in the whole world. And I hope that keeps going. But above all, I hope players continue and indeed increase their involvement in the game, because it's the players' game. It is all about players and their welfare and in looking after them, and for them to have as strong an influence as possible to care about the game like we care about our predecessors. Billy Meredith, who formed this association here in Manchester in 1907, and so many quality people after him. I'm privileged to have been one of those leaders, and I just wish the leaders for the future every good wish, so that the PFA becomes synonymous with what is good for football. Thank you.